We are here because we are dedicated to helping the entire CrossFit community. Determined to elevate coaches, box owners, athletes, and everything in between, we believe that this mission will begin right here, right now. While this time and this goal begins with you, our hope is that you take this fire ignited within you and weave it into your own life with the same unrelenting passion to give those you have the privilege of coming in contact with the best hour of their day.
Welcome, Emily Rolfe, to the podcast.
Thank you.
15th place in the CrossFit Games this year?
Correct.
So our friend, or someone, I assume all Canadians know each other, Pete Shaw introduced us to each other, and I was digging into you, obviously, getting to know who you were and finding out some information. But perhaps the most important and novel thing about you is that you have a full-time job in radiology, but somehow find the time to train for the games. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you can have some extremely long shifts in that world.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. It's the kind of job that you can't leave a hospital unattended, basically. So if someone doesn't show up or someone's unexpectedly sick and there's no one to cover, like you can't just peace out. You got to stay. So that's happened to me a couple times.
What's the most stressed you've been about? Like, my shift ends at 10 or whatever time, and like I was going to eat, I was going to train, I was going to go to sleep, and this lady's calling in with a cold, and now I have to stay. Like, what's the worst that's looked like?
Yeah, you don't want to get on my butt. Like, don't do that. I'm a bit of a panic situation there. You're right. Like, either I need to go get a workout in, or I'm working a late shift and I need to get my sleep because the next day, I have training. And yeah, I remember once I worked a day shift and then I had to stay all night, and it was, I'm over dramatic, but I feel like it was the worst thing ever.
Do you have overnight shifts at times?
Yeah.
So
I've kind of, I'm lucky that I've kind of moved up in the seniority ladder, that I've been able to avoid night shifts for probably the last year now.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's important.
But before that, I was working quite a bit of nights.
So, we had Patrick Vellner on not too long ago, and he obviously has his career also, in the same industry or similar industry.
Yep.
And I asked him, like, what keeps him motivated to train? Because you have a career. Like, you don't need this. Like, yeah,
but this is what I love to do. Like, this is my passion. Like,
so then let me ask you the opposite way. What keeps you in radiology?
I enjoy my job too. Like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I like to help people. I like to feel kind of like a purpose, something else other than CrossFit. And yeah, it's like a different group. My work friends are not my gym friends. Like, it's nice to kind of be out of the gym, not be thinking about training all the time. It really puts my mind somewhere else, which is nice.
Do your colleagues understand it?
They had the games playing all day on like games weekend, and they had it on replay. Like, some of them do, like, there's like one that does CrossFit, but the rest of them have no idea. But they kind of, like, through social media and stuff, they're kind of, oh, okay, like, this is what you do. And they're super supportive. Like, if I need vacation to go to a competition, like, they'll switch around their shifts. Someone will take my shifts for me. Like, they're all super supportive. So that's really nice.
It's a supportive bunch, which is helpful from what I've seen. And so you're in a standard hospital, or Canadian hospital, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. And in the United States, wherever you work, I'm sure your husband deals with this as well. It's like people bring in junk food.
Oh, yeah.
So do they treat you like when they bring in food, or they're like, do they say something like, Emily, you're not going to eat this? Like, do they let it be known they know?
All the time. Like, every day they're making fun of me for, like, my food. Like, I'm like, you guys, it gets old. Like, but yeah, I'm always, or they have luncheons, they bring in donuts. They don't even bother to ask me. Like, if they order out, they don't even ask me anymore. Emily does her own thing. It's fun. And then they make fun of me for how much food I bring. Like, Emily, you're only here for 8 hours. Like, and I come in with my cooler and yeah, well, I'm hungry all the time.
Have you ever sat down and made the comparison? Like, here's what I'm eating. We're actually eating the same amount of calories. You're just choosing to eat it through cake and cookies, where I'm eating, chicken and rice.
Yeah. I mean, I've never actually done that, but it's true. And I think working nights is really bad for that. Like, you go down to Emerge in the middle at 2 a.m. and there's like McDonald's out and they've ordered pizza, and it's just you kind of crave that when you've had like a lack of sleep and you're kind of hungry, but you don't really know because your body's like, why am I up at this hour? That's the kind of food you crave. So yeah, problem.
Yeah, I think so many people that work that overnight shift, whatever the industry is, they're tired, but they can't sleep, so they eat, not realizing you're not hungry, you're tired, right?
Yeah. And then when I work nights, I actually do eat regularly. Like, I just flip my day around. So I'll eat breakfast at like 11 p.m., lunch at like 3, and then dinner at like 8. Because I find if I don't, and then I don't eat all night, then I can't sleep the next day because you're hungry. Your body wants to be up and eating, and it's just, you gotta totally reverse it to make it work, for me anyways.
How detrimental is it to your training working? Oh, I know you said you haven't done it in quite some time, but how detrimental was it in years past when you were training for whether it was a sanctioned event or the games?
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was detrimental. I just hated it because I hate sleeping when it's a beautiful day out, and you feel like you miss everything. Like, you sleep all day. Like, that was the only reason. My training didn't really suffer, to be honest. It was harder because I had to go to the gym at weird hours. I'm training at like 9 p.m. to midnight, and then I'm training again at 8 a.m. Like, it's just weird times, but I made it work. And I think it helped, especially like traveling to Dubai and places where you're 12-hour difference. It's the exact same as just switching to a night shift, right? So that was easy for me. The time change was easy.
Well, the good news is it's only nice like 2 days a year in Canada, right? So
it's sunny right now. What are you on about?
Where are you in Canada? You're closer to the West Coast because I know you train with Vellner once in a while, right?
Yeah. So Pat and we're just a ferry ride apart. I can see
on the island
where he lives across. So he's on the island. I'm on the mainland, but we're both Vancouver, so the very west end of Canada. So
when you guys get together for training, whose programming takes priority?
Depends. He's pretty diligent that I'm not going to really convince him to do much of mine. I'm going to be, hey, let's do this. It'll be fun. But I'm a little worse that way. He could probably convince me more. So,
but it must feel good when you beat him in a workout that was his. Like,
oh, it feels great. Like,
better than when it was your, right? Like, I came to your house, did your workout, and beat you.
Yeah.
They're just okay. There's value, like bragging rights.
Yeah, before the games, like in a week, maybe I'd beat him like once or twice. In like, how many workouts do we do in a full week? 2 sessions, 3 sessions a day, and I'd be just like on cloud 9, like, yes.
So if you're doing that, and because it's a ferry ride, you just have to stay there throughout the day and chill
I've done
out?
that. It's only like an hour and a bit ferry, so you can make a day trip. He's come over here just for a day and then gone back. It's easy enough.
So you have a gymnastics background.
Mm-hmm.
So you typically do pretty well in those gymnastic workouts, but you also typically do well in running workouts. What are you making a face like? You do not agree? Do you not feel like you do well in the?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, at the games, I would like event 2. I didn't do as well as I expected. That was the pig flip muscle up.
The muscle up one?
Mm-hmm. And I was worried about the pig. And then it turns out I fell apart on the muscle up. So you never know.
You're worried about 5 pig flips where 48 muscle ups. Was it confidence in your muscle ups, or was it
was
of the pig?
Well, the pig I'd never done. So of course I was a bit like worried about like, how's that going to feel? I don't know if you saw, we had a homemade one that one of the gym owners made us. So Pat and I used it, and that was actually a lot harder than the real pig. So that ended up to be fine. I just had trouble with the lockout. Like, my judge was very strict on that. So yeah, live and learn.
Well, speaking of, I'm wearing my head judge shirt.
I know, that's why I don't want to say too much.
No, feel free. I mean, I'd love to know who that was so we can bash them on the show. But when you go out there, what's that?
Oh, I was just going to say, Pat actually had the same judge. We were in the same lane for that workout. And he said the same thing. Like, he got no rep a couple of times. He's like, well, what did I do? Like, and I got no rep also. And I kind of panicked a bit and made sure each one was like really good. And, that's taxing. Like, that takes, disrupting your kind of flow because you're trying to push it out so much. So, but he won the workout, so I can't use that as an excuse, can I?
Well, I'll go back and watch because it's probably a friend of mine. And I'll text them later. But so when that's happening to you, is what's going more, like, what becomes the more prominent thought? Like, shit, I'm having to put more work in, or is it that I'm having to put more work in than the person next to me? Or is it neither? Is it just like suck it up and go?
It was kind of suck it up and go, but it was kind of like, like when you don't, I'm going to take note of that. And when I train now, make sure that it's not questionable, because it would be a lot easier if that didn't throw off my muscle up motion, right? If I didn't have to
I assume we're talking rings.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Putting at the top to make sure you've got the rep is a waste of your energy, right? So you don't want to be doing that. But in the moment, that's what I had to do to get no reps, right? To make them count. So where I was going with the gymnastic question is you also do pretty well in running workouts. Right.
Is there a connection there? Like, because you have this gymnastic background, you think you've developed accidentally like this endurance, or is it something you've focused on knowing that you kind of got gymnastics in the back pocket? I need to get better here.
I do not focus on running at all. I think I did one long, quote long, like a 5K run before the games, like all year.
Is it because you don't like running or you don't feel a need to?
No, I would love to run every day.
You enjoy running?
Yeah, I mean, you enjoy things you're good at usually, right?
I suppose. Yeah, I've never been good at running, so I don't get it. But yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, so my coach does not allow me to, I've been doing a lot of sprint work because that's what needs more work than like an endurance run. But I have not been endurance running at all. Pretty much since I won the ruck run in 2019. There was like very minimal running in my programs. It's so just, if you're good at it, like why, it's a waste of your time and energy, right? Like there's other things, more work.
At your level, it certainly is. Something I always tell people, like for me, for example, when I don't want to work out, I'm like, I'm going to do something I'm good at because at least it's fun, right? I'm not training for the CrossFit Games. So me doing burpees in the garage is not the same as you running when you're good at it. Tell me, how bad was that ruck? That to me was, I think every year there's just a workout that looks terrible. So this year it looked like the wall walk thruster workout to me. And then that year, plus the 3 mile running, I should say too. The toes to bar weren't bad, but I hate running, but I'm sure you enjoyed that aspect of it. That was probably right in your wheelhouse then, because you have the gymnastic movement as well as the run, which you're good at.
Yeah, exactly.
When you hear a workout like that, do you just get like excited?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely ordered my Reeboks for that one. So yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys gotten paid for that yet?
We've gotten the form to like fill out, so it seems like they're on it. I bet you we'll get paid way faster than like our games money.
Would you have changed? Would you have worn different shoes if not for that?
I didn't even think. Probably not. A couple of the the runners that I have out of Reebok are pretty nice to wear for runs. So it wasn't like I was going way out of my comfort zone to switch shoes.
So you would typically train in Reeboks anyway. I mean, you're wearing a Reebok shirt.
Yeah.
Nothing. It wouldn't have been like, oh, I'll wear No Bulls, but Reebok offered us this prize purse.
No, I would definitely not going to wear No Bulls for that. No.
Yeah, there's no comfortable. I mean, I know I shouldn't. You know what? I shouldn't say anything.
They look great. They look great. Date night. Maybe you should wear them tonight.
You know what? I do have the trainers, like the leather ones. I like those. I bought them because more so like going out shoes.
Yeah, totally.
Versus training shoes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I have small feet. Hard to find nice looking shoes like that. So how bad was that ruck though? You're talking about the one where you had to grab a new weight every like loop, which like 5 times. Did your low back get torn up like everybody else's?
It did, yeah. But in the moment, you're like, I felt it. I was like, oh, my back's a bit scraped, whatever. But there's so many other things that hurt. Like you're not worried about the scrape on your back at all.
It doesn't like phase you at all. You're just like mentally like, I've got to keep moving.
Yeah.
That's what's so different about you guys. Like most of us be like, I'll be doing like a sit-up workout and feel like a little bit. I'm like, okay, I got to stop today. Can't have any, monkey butt or whatever you want to call it. But you guys will like run 5 more miles with that pain. What was the work?
I mean, yeah, you're crossing the stupid line sometimes, but.
Certainly. I mean, but that's one of your 2 major careers, right?
Yeah.
So what was the worst workout as far as soreness this year for you?
Ooh. I'm trying to think. Nothing really destroyed my body really bad. Yeah, Kyle says the thrusters. Thrusters I was sore from.
Felder said. He said, I was thinking more from like this perspective, meaning like the lat and the oblique of the wall blocks. But that thruster weight, what'd you have, 135?
Yeah. It's heavy for a workout, right? Like,
for 55 reps.
Yeah, for a lot. In the moment, it was just sweaty. It was just hot. It was a grind. And I like long workouts that are just a work through, so I didn't mind the workout at all actually, but afterward a little bit sore. But
well, and that was one of the things. I don't remember who went first, men or women. I judged only the men on that event. But one thing I wasn't prepared for was how sweaty and slippery. I had Cole Sager in the first heat, and I was like, this dude is swimming. Like,
yeah,
he's gonna hurt himself.
It was a slip and slide.
Yeah.
And then my coach was like yelling at me to stop wasting time to chalk up. But I was like, it's a necessity. Like the bar is gonna fly out of my hands. Like, yeah,
I mean, I did actually judge women on that as well. But yeah, that was one of those where it was like I was not expecting it to be what it became. And I think Dave will often say, like when he programs a workout, another one being the yolk carry.
Yeah,
we were expecting more people not to finish, or at least not finish as quickly as everybody, men and women, were. So it's always interesting when I think he misgauges something that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think the men were first on that one, and some of them I guess were dragging the yoke. So we got a huddle with Dave, a talking to before we went out, and he was like, "Do not do this." But I guess they didn't say they couldn't, so some of the guys thought, "Oh well."
It's funny. I've seen him do that where he's like, "Don't do this," but it's not a rule. And then it becomes like you're watching like who's still gonna try to get away with.
Yeah, and then it's subjective. It's like, does your judge want to stop you or not? Like, it's risky though. I mean, I don't know if it's worth, especially in that workout, because man, it was sure when some people would finish and then you'd be like, oh no, I have to go do another round. I have to do all of it again.
More sit-ups, more burpees. You mentioned earlier your coach doesn't allow you to do that. You're referring to your husband, right?
Yes.
So he sounds like he's there right now.
He's making what? What did you just say?
So for your sins, that's what I
For your sins.
So talk to me through that. And is it okay if we say what your husband's career is?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, it's no problem.
Okay, I don't, some people just like, so he's a police officer, so he's probably a shift work as well.
Yep.
And then you have this crazy schedule.
Yeah.
How do you guys find time to, you can find time together, but how do you find quality time together? Because I'd imagine there's difference between, hey, we're hanging out and I'm watching you do a workout versus we're Netflix.
That is quality time. What are you on about?
Well,
him watching me train, that's quality time right there.
for yeah, I mean, hey, if it's paying the bills, I suppose it is. But my wife and I have run businesses together, and there'll be dinner time, and I'm like, no, you don't get to ask me business questions right now. Like, you could talk about anything you want, but no business. So where is that?
We have a similar rule. Like, he calls it his coach's hat. He takes off and he puts on husband hat. And then basically that means no talking about CrossFit. And that's usually rest days. We do that. So Thursday and Sunday, if we're having dinner together, we're not talking about training.
You're not talking about Friday's workout?
No, I mean, of course I'll bring it up. And then he reminds me like,
yeah, we got to the point where we got our own Slack channel. So we wouldn't even text each other about if it's work related, it goes in Slack. If it's, life, family, etc., text. So
wow.
Maybe take that idea if you want. You could steal it. But then a nice little, separation of church and state there.
Yes.
How did that come about that he was your coach?
Before he's laughing. Before he worked as
him on. He can eat on the podcast. I'd love to hear his side of the story.
I'll let you answer it first, and I'll give the real version of events.
Okay.
Where's he from?
England.
Where in England? My wife's from England.
Where are you from? Lincolnshire.
No, I don't know where that is. We're supposed to go. She's from Guernsey.
East Midlands, he says.
Where's your wife from?
Guernsey.
Guernsey?
It's like an island.
Yeah, no, that's not even England. It's a separate thing.
Oh, well,
you guys are all the same over there.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully she's not listening. we were supposed to go there before the COVID and whatnot. But so anyway, how did you guys get involved in coaching one another, or him coaching you?
So before his career now, he was a strength and conditioning coach. So I did meet him at a gym, but it was like a global gym. And he had a couple clients, and he had a CrossFit event that he was going to, and he dragged me along, and I was like, I'm not doing that. That looks ridiculous. Then like 2 weeks later, I was at my first class. And then I kind of just, what would you say? I did well right away.
What does that look like in class? Like, you're the best female at the
I came to the gym and everyone was like, oh, you can already do that. And like, my dad was an Olympic weightlifting coach, so I had the technique. Like, I wasn't strong, but I knew how to lift. I did the local competitions. Like, I did really well.
I mean, gymnastics, especially from the female side, if you come into CrossFit and you can do pull-ups and that's usually where the biggest gap is, right, for women?
Yeah, and I think just like, we don't do muscle ups in girls gymnastics. We don't do ring muscle ups, but I think just the body awareness and used to being upside down and all that, used to swinging on a bar, like that's the crossover's huge there. So it was very easy for me to catch on to all the skills that I was learning.
Did you catch a lot of what was going on with what was her, Simone Biles? Was that her name in the Olympics this year?
I did, yeah.
I didn't watch a lot of the Olympics, but that was like, in everyone's feed. What was your thoughts on that? From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, she pulled out of a couple events, kind of like mental health type stuff, and people really gave her a hard time.
Yeah, so this all happened during the games, so I didn't see it all either because obviously we were busy. But she pulled out of the all-around final, which is like the be-all and end-all of gymnastics. Like, if you win that, you're the queen of gymnastics, the all-around. And she won that the last Olympics. And I think at first I was kind of like, oh, like, why would you not try? Like, why? Like, I know there's an immense amount of pressure on her. Like, people call her the GOAT, same as Tia, like greatest of all time. And she is, like, she's won the most. But that's not to say that, okay, everyone expects her to do well. Everyone expects her to win. And that's got to be a crazy amount of pressure. But yeah, at first I was like, well, I'd rather see someone try and maybe, oh, she fell off beam because there was too much pressure. Okay, then she doesn't win or something. Like, I'd rather see that. But then I thought, you know what, gymnastics is such a dangerous sport. And if you're not fully committed to those skills you're throwing, like, you can break your neck. So it's like, it's not just, oh, I didn't want to run because I didn't feel like running, you know, like, these are big tricks that these girls are throwing. So your head has to be into it. Yeah.
What's he saying over there? What's he saying?
He's especially what she throws. Yeah. Like, she does skills that nobody else in the world can do. Like,
I gotta check it out. Do you think being a gymnast prepared you for CrossFit, not just in the movements, but in the individualized aspect of the sport?
Yeah, 100%. Like, being up on a 4-inch beam, like flipping in front of so many people. Yeah, if you can do that, you can compete in the heat of CrossFit.
You're pretty tall for a gymnast, though, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm 5'7", so I was obviously shorter when I was competing.
Because you were growing. You mean because you were young? Right?
I was stunted, whatever way you look at it.
Yeah.
And then when I quit or retired, which I was old for a gymnast, I was 22, then I really grew after that.
So it was good timing. Good timing to grow, I mean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if that had happened when I was competing nationally, like, I would have been done.
Do you think you would have been taller, though? Like, you think, so I'm 5'3", and I grew up wrestling, so cutting weight didn't make me, I can't say it made me shorter, but it didn't help.
Cutting weight didn't help?
Yeah, just being a wrestler and not eating when you're 12 to 18 in the prime years of your life.
Yeah.
It's not doing you any favors when your parents are like 4'9", etc. So would you say the same is true for gymnastics?
I think some people, maybe. I think I'm pretty much the size I was meant to be now.
I mean, 5'7", that's good anyway. That's just a good height to be.
Yeah.
So we have a 6-month-old baby girl. I would like to get her, I want to get her wrestling, which I've got to convince the wife still. But we've both agreed on piano and gymnastics.
Perfect. That's the 2 I did.
Is it? All right. So we'll do cool. Well, I'll need to follow up with this. But what is your advice getting, she's obviously not quite ready for it, but getting your daughter into gymnastics? And hopefully this is not just for me, but those listening. I mean, we all know, like we've said, and Coach Glassman back in the day used to say, like, a gymnastics background is key.
Yeah.
CrossFit. So what's some advice you would give me to not be that crazy parent in the stands, but also to lead her to success?
I think just like positive exposure at the beginning. Like, I learned to walk in the gym. I was just like mom and tots class. And then as a kid, it was just super fun. Like, that's all I wanted to do was go to gymnastics. And I think as I got more and more competitive, the hours increased, the days increased that you're meant to go. And my parents didn't, like, some parents just let their kids go all the time. And those kids kind of burnt out by the time they were 10 years old. Like, they were done. And I think my parents held me back. I don't want to say like held me back, but they weren't like super keen on letting me focus only on gymnastics super early. So when I was little, I did piano, I did soccer, like I did school sports. And then not until I was probably like 12, then they said, okay, like, this is what you want to do. You can go 5 days a week. You can train 5 hours a day.
But had they pushed you too hard in the beginning, by the time you're 12, you may not have felt that way. Like, you were excited to show up at that point.
Yeah, like, I wanted to go. And I see some parents now, because they want to push their kids, right? Maybe they see potential, like they mean well, and the kids like don't want to go, and they want to be with their friends, and they want to do other things. And like, that's the work. Like, to do well in a sport, you have to have both. You have to have the drive and you have to like want to do it.
So what do you think was the reason you got excited? Because it was just fun, or because you realized you were good at it?
I wasn't super good to start. I wasn't like the talented kid they picked out in the class and was like, oh, this kid's going to the Olympics. Like, that was not Emily. I wasn't bad, but I wasn't the one with all the natural talent. You know, like, I trained with a couple girls and we'd learn a new skill and they'd get it the second try. And then I would take 10 more attempts before I got it. But then I would have the skill. I wouldn't lose it again. And I mean, there's pros and cons, but yeah, I just enjoyed it.
Are you doing any coaching yourself?
I'm not, no. There's no. Kyle laughs because he thinks I'd be the worst coach in the world.
Yes, you would.
Well, the reason I ask is I find the harder you had to work to become good at something, the better a coach you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So hearing you say that makes me believe you would be a good coach, because you understand. Not only do you understand the struggles that they're going through, where someone that was just gifted and could do things on their first try wouldn't understand, but you also understand what they need to do to improve.
True. And I think I coached gymnastics for a while after I was not doing it. And I think you're right with that way. Like, I remember learning that skill and how I did it, and it took me this long. And yeah, but CrossFit, that didn't happen so much. There wasn't that big learning curve. So, you know, maybe trying to teach a muscle up. Oh, you know, you just like do it like a kip, like a gymnastics. Like, I don't know.
So, you know, you both realize you're doing pretty good at this CrossFit thing. What was the deciding factor to say, Kyle, you're going to coach me? Or was that prior to a relationship?
No, relationship first. I think I left the gym that I was at and switched to a different gym. And the other gym was more of it wasn't like your classic CrossFit with classes. So there wasn't really a coach. So I was kind of like needed him at the time with plans to drop him later. Tell him I said that. He's gone now.
Still hearing it. So
and then he really helped me, and I really improved like under his programming. So it kind of just worked. And then we continued on, and then I made regionals. I made the games another 2 times. Like, now I just can't shake him.
well, you know, we had Jeff Adler on with his coach, Caroline. They're also in a relationship, not married. But, you know, I kind of asked him, like, how hard would it be to fire your coach? You know, is there anything that could cause that at this point? Is it just like, hey, we're in it together?
How many times have I fired you?
Oh yeah, Kyle fired me.
I guess we have to ask. Let me ask Kyle. What's the most frustrating thing she does, not as an athlete, but as your wife?
Not the most.
Not in a personal way. I mean, because she's your athlete, but like, she can get away with it because she's your wife.
Well, that's the thing that we've developed over the years. So I'll turn it so you can see my open mug. But nice to meet you, by the way, Kyle.
You too.
The thing we've developed over the years is that actually when I'm a coach, I am a coach. I'm not a husband. And we've developed that over the last, 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And I said to her, look, whenever I say things that I'm saying as a coach, it may sound mean, but you've got to take it as a structural criticism or whatever. And it's not intended in a bad way or anything like that. It's to help her develop as an athlete. A prime example is, I suppose, the e-coli thing that happened with her swimming in the water.
That was on my list. Yeah. So you got E. coli in the first event of the weekend or the weekend.
Yeah. And like, she gets through, does great in the events, gets through the day, awesome, goes through the second day, has her rest. And then the second day evening starts feeling, for better or word, like crap. And excuse my French. But then Friday comes around and she's on the verge of death's door. And I've never, as a husband, I've never seen her so sick. And I had to differentiate between being a husband and a coach and say, look, you've got to get up and you've got to go do this thing. And as a husband, that was a really hard thing to do. And I think probably receiving it as a wife, but as an athlete as well was tough. So deliver that was the hardest thing to do, but it just shows her tenacious attitude that she has, and just gets on with it, right? So,
are you coaching anybody else?
I am, yeah.
Is it a secret? I mean, you say it in the...
No, it's not a secret. No.
So he coaches, I don't know, Adam Davidson. He's he made the games last year, and this year he was close. I think he made the last chance. Did he?
He didn't make last.
He was in Atlas. That was for men. I don't know if you saw those names. That was the hardest.
Yeah, and he came 11th.
So he did well.
The event in that's a Canadian event, right?
Yeah. So our semifinal, I think, Adam finished 11th. He would have made it in any other semifinal that did those same online workouts. So it's a bit disappointing for him this year, but he's got a lot of potential, and we've been enjoying training together.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So I guess the reason I was asking is it's different male, female, but with Kyle, has he ever because he can pull the hey, Adam doesn't act like this when I say that.
Adam is the men version of me.
Oh yeah,
so
he's another wife.
Adam and I are the exact same person, literally everything. So if he can't put one of us against each other.
If I divorced Emily, I could marry Adam and there'd be no difference.
Hey, yeah. You only coach your spouses, I guess, Kyle. Is that the
way? Clearly, yeah.
And I think Kyle's been quite I don't know what the right word is, but he's said to me often, if you don't feel like I'm giving you what you need, or for phrase, good enough to be your coach, if you feel you need someone else, no hard feelings.
Take the stress off me. Go ahead, knock yourself out.
Yeah, maybe it was an invite. I don't know.
Yeah, she just doesn't pick up on the warnings. She just keeps going.
There's not a whole lot of money in coaching your wife, is there?
There's not a whole lot of money in watching her either, but that's all right.
How was it for you? Talking to Patrick and for both of you, we're talking to, and Jeff and Caroline stayed in the States after getting ready for the Rogue Invitational. How challenging was everything that was going on, just in travel and even in your own training? For example, you had to do an online qualifier versus an in-person event.
Yeah. So I think that was probably the worst was getting through the open quarterfinals, semifinals for me, because I compete better in a live competition, just because there's more auto object running, things that I tend to thrive at better. So I knew that was going to be the main challenge. And I did well. I wouldn't say competing online's really a weakness of mine anymore, which that's been nice that this year's shown that. And then I think traveling, I think we were just more worried for our jobs, to be honest, to get back, because we both had to work. We both work in, public.
Frontline.
Yeah, frontline.
I assume, and you don't have to get into it, but I assume you both had to get vaccinated, or at least, the hospital and the police, right? So,
yeah, sure.
So that probably made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it made it easier coming to the games, because you just had to show that, you're vaccinated, and they wave you through. That was perfect. But to get back into Canada, it didn't make a difference. We still had to jump through the hoops and do the tests, and it was fine. It's very doable. But
yeah, Jeff was saying because he got vaccinated, it was just so much easier for him compared to the athletes that weren't, who had to get tested repeatedly. How did that impact you? I had it, and I got a little chills, nothing terrible. My wife was I walked in one day, the same day, and she's crying, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she felt terrible. Did it impact your training?
I never got COVID.
The vaccine.
Oh, the vaccine. Sorry, I thought you meant COVID.
No, just because I'm saying people got the vaccine and they felt it. Jeff said it cost them 4 or 5 days of training.
Okay. No, you know what? I was totally fine. We were both totally fine. A little tired, but it's funny. We got our second doses right around semifinals, and Pat actually did his 3 days before we competed. And I messaged him. I was like, what are you doing? Just wait till the week after. But his baby was being born too. Like he had like 3 high stress things all happening at the same time. And then he still won the comp. So who am I to say anything? I don't know.
No excuses.
It was interesting because at the games, I noticed, at least on the men's side, him and Brent were the only 2 ever wearing masks.
Yeah. So I was starting to wear a mask too, because like people get so close, they're leaning over the fences. And I think, like I said before, it became a little bit of a concern to get home because none of us wanted to stay an extra 2 weeks on our own dollar. Because
if you wound up getting it, even though you had the vaccine,
yeah,
right? Because at that point, it wasn't a matter that you'd be kicked out of the competition because you weren't going to get tested again. It would be a matter of if you were stuck. I just assumed that they hadn't been vaccinated and they were protecting themselves. But I guess
no. Well, Brent, I can't speak for, but Pat's definitely, because he's healthcare too, right? He's definitely vaccinated.
Well, cool. No. Did you get tested for E. coli, or did you just know because of you were in the water? And I assume there was some toilet time, because of it. Like, were you just like, I probably have E. coli, or is that something you got tested for?
I never got tested. Everything matched up. I saw the medical team, and the doctor said they're like, I guess they can't say 100% sure, but they were sure.
And that's funny because Jeff mentioned almost the same exact thing that Kyle just said, and he couldn't eat. And I wonder if he wound up having the same thing.
There were, me, it hit really hard. Even Pat, like you said, his guts weren't right. Like he was, but he wasn't as sick as like I was, like very ill.
So drinking like stagnant lake water, not ideal when you're getting ready for a 5-day competition. What's your go-to? Like you finished the events, you're done with the games. What's your go-to meal? What'd you guys do in Madison?
What did we do?
Ian's pizza.
We got some deep fried cheese curds.
Yeah, can't go wrong there.
Yeah, and then we went to Vegas actually a day later for like 3 days. So all the food there.
Yeah, and is there partying going on after a competition like this?
There was a few drinks. My stomach still wasn't right though from getting sick, so almost relapsed there. But
gotcha. Well, before we wrap up, I did want to give you the opportunity. First of all, Emily _Rolfe 19. What's the 19 signify?
I think Emily Rolfe was taken.
I think that's throw a 19 in there.
19 is my lucky number too.
Gotcha. But you have some great sponsors. So is there anything we can do? Is there any direction we can push people to check out to support your sponsors?
Like you said, just check out my Instagram page. There's a link tree there.
Easy enough. How is this coffee though?
It's pretty good. It's like
Grumpy Grounds.
The guy that makes it is he like roasts it at home. He's got like an industrial like office, whatever, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I will not go back to Starbucks.
What's your go-to coffee? I'm sure Kyle is super caffeinated. Just being a police officer, they're always drinking, a ton of coffee to stay awake. But what's your guy? Are you guys big coffee connoisseurs?
I am. Kyle actually does not drink coffee, which is, I know. He will work a 12-hour shift, sleep 3 hours, and have to go to work again without a coffee. I don't know how he does it. Is he like taking like Bangs or C4s or something, or is he just no caffeine in general? Nothing.
Just abundance of energy.
That's strange. I don't trust people like that, to be honest. I know. Like, I don't think I could. So, but if you're big into coffee, what's your go-to?
Kyle, what are you?
Not for Kyle. Kyle doesn't drink coffee. For you, Emily.
Yeah. Kyle's good at ordering though.
No, I'm not. No, at all.
So Kyle knows nothing about coffee because he doesn't drink it. So we go through the drive-through on our way to the games just to get pre-comp.
You
gotta get coffee.
Both of you.
What did I order? A Grande Blanc?
A Grande Blanc.
And I say, "Oh, Kyle, a Grande Blanc for me," and then he orders it, and the lady's like, "What are you even saying?"
They're in hysterics on the drive-through. I have no idea.
Was he trying to order just like a blonde roast grande? Is that what it was? Yeah.
And I just took Grande Blanc.
They just make stuff up. So I say it because I don't think twice about what I'm ordering, because they have all these weird names and whatever. I mean, they say venti. Well, venti is 20, but it's only 16 ounces. So that's just pointless in its own form.
That might be a Canadian thing. I'm pretty sure in the States, a venti is 20, but it took a long time for me to understand that. I didn't know that. But do you ever do your own thing at home for your coffee, Emily?
Oh yeah, all the time. I've got like a professional espresso machine there.
Yeah, well, best gift we got for our wedding was a Breville Espresso. It's like the one thing we use every day, for 5 years now.
Mine's the Breville too. Does it have the grinder and everything on top?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the same.
Put I forget what you call the thing. They put you push it in and grinds, and every day we hit that Breville. And I've got, if you don't already have an AeroPress, you check out one of those, and that way you can travel with it. That's what I did for the games this year, making, I have a hand grinder, made it in the hotel room in the morning before heading out.
I'll have to do that next year, because like the Grande Blancs aren't cutting it.
Well, for two people with not a lot of free time, I appreciate both of you being on here. A nice surprise. I always like seeing the interaction, not just with coaches, but husband and wife. So very cool. You guys are clearly doing something right. So I wouldn't fire Kyle just yet.
Okay.
Give him another year. I mean, yes, he should probably learn how to order coffee and do that right. But outside of that, he seems like a pretty good guy. So I'd keep him around. But
one more year probation, maybe.
That's it, done. Yeah, I'll fire myself.
Well, he's got some options now, Emily. So hopefully Adam brings it to next year, and one on each side. That's pretty cool. But I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Thanks. It was good to talk to you.
So you never miss an episode of the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel and on all major podcasting platforms at Best Hour of Their Day. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of the best hour of our day. See you next time.